Gordon the big engine and Thomas the tank engine puffed buffer to buffer back home. It had been a busy day. First, Thomas had teased Gordon about the time that the big engine had slid into a ditch. Then Thomas fell down a mine and Gordon came to his rescue.
Okay, I'm always down for past season references, but am I hearing this right? It had been a busy day? So what, does this mean we are leaving off from down the mine of season 1? That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't exactly like where this is going, but we'll see. As Gordon and Thomas made their way back to Tidmouth Sheds, things were being spiffied up. The reason would be revealed shortly.
"Bust my buffers," said Thomas. "What's happening?" "Shh," whispered Percy. "Sir Topham Hatt's going to tell us now. Ladies and gentlemen and engines, I am honored to inform you that Her Majesty the Queen herself is coming here to visit us."
Well, now that's quite an announcement. The Queen was visiting Sodor? How often does one get a chance like that to happen? This must have been Duke's doing since he's the hero of Sodor. Or Sir Handel because he must have been knighted. Okay, that's a bit of a stretch. The question, however, that needed answering? Who was going to bring the Queen to Sodor?
"I'm too old to pull important trains," said Edward. "I'm in disgrace," sighed Gordon. "He'll choose me, of course," boasted James. "You," snorted Henry, "you can't climb hills." "He will ask me to pull the train."
Oh, looks like Henry made a reference to the Trouble with Mud episode of Season 3. I'm actually surprised Gordon didn't fight for that one. After all, he's Mr. Big and boastful, and being that the Queen's engine would be like a promotion by 1,000%. Whatever, at least Henry knows he's worth it. Later, as he was getting ready, the weather began to change. Meanwhile, people were still making the station look pretty. That is, until Henry let off steam again at the wrong time.
The painter couldn't see. Both he and the paint pot fell all over Henry. Poor Henry. "Well, you're not a pretty picture," sneered the painter.
Man, Henry cannot catch a break from anything. If it's not rain, elephants, or slippery rails, it's friggin' painter pots. Then again, though, this is the second time now he let off steam at the wrong moment. I do like how the camera panned vertically over Knapford Station, though. That was unique. And with that, Top Hat had to find another tender engine to bring the Queen to Sodor. The only two engines left were Gordon and Thomas. Supposedly, they were in a timeout from the references made earlier in the story.
"May Thomas have his branch line again?" "I think you are both sorry and deserve a treat. Edward will go in front to clear the line. Thomas will look after the coaches, and Gordon will pull the train."
Wait, what? Can Thomas have his branch line again? What kind of question is that? This story is really trying to be a continuation of the arc between Thomas and Gordon from Off the Rails and Down the Mine from Season 1? Oh my gosh, this is so stupid. More on that later. Anyway, when the day came, the engines worked harder than ever before, making sure things looked splendid. And for once, there was no quarreling among the engines of who was doing what. Everyone did what they were supposed to do with no fuss. Even the drama queens of Sodor behaved, for once.
Edward steamed in. "Beep! The Queen is here!" Then Gordon whistled as he approached the station. Everyone knew that sound. The Queen's train glided into the station. Gordon was spotless and his brass shone brightly.
Very nice, although I have to question, what was with Gordon saying he couldn't pull the Queen's train before, when he said he was in disgrace? What, was he going to be in disgrace for that long a time? Geez, what kind of shaming program is going on here? But in all seriousness, even if he wasn't picked to pull the train, he still would have been polished and such for the occasion, so I don't know what he meant by that. But as the Queen arrived, everyone was happy with the visit and couldn't help but let out their excitement, as formal as the event was.
"3 cheers for the Queen! Beep, beep!" whistled the engines. When it was time to leave, the Queen spoke specially to Thomas, who fetched her coaches, then to Edward, and finally to Gordon, who took her away. No engines ever felt prouder than those on Sir Topham Hatt's railway.
I bet, once-in-a-lifetime deal. Where to begin? This episode is not that good for me. It's not awful, but it's just not a great one. The biggest flub this entry commits is that it's a continuation of the story arc from Off the Rails and Down the Mine of Season 1. Why is this a problem? Well, that was 3 seasons ago. I get that not every story can be put into a full season, but if that's the case, just omit the connections. The reason why this is being stated is due to this show tells the story mostly as an overall narrative. All the episodes covered so far were not one-off stories. They all build off one another, stitched together to create this huge collection of talking trains on a special island. Yes, occasionally there were flashback episodes, mainly in this season so far, and a reference thrown in from time to time. But to deliberately go back and finish a story from season 1, when it's season 4? No. Just make the story about the Queen arriving to Sodor. Everything about the season 1 stories and Thomas getting his branch line back is just unnecessary. Completely omitting that would simplify the story but tell it without the confusion of when it took place. Bad writers, bad. Aside from this though, the story involving the Queen coming to Sodor was acceptable. Henry having more trouble and the engines working to prep the place was just fine. Musical variations was not that abundant here. When Gordon and Thomas puff back to Tidmouth Sheds, the post-train theme is used. Not sure why, although pretty anyway. However, as the Queen arrives, the God Save the Queen anthem is heard, which hasn't been done before. The rest is all incidental music, which is okay, but more filler than anything else. For set pieces, the only new area that was shown was the lighthouse, up close and personal, at the very beginning. The others were your usual classic settings like Tidmouth Sheds, Knapford Station, and stock footage from the old lead mines and the Vickerstown Sheds. Next episode is Fish. Thanks for watching.